What do you mean?
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 That's the name of the channel. What do you mean with an exclamation point and a question mark?
I guess it's my turn to talk about this because, oh boy, I've got a few things to say. So here is the clip that everyone was commenting on.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
That is explicitly, I think, what is going on in terms of like what we saw from the Fed in terms of trying to crash the economy, is that we need to discipline labor.
Now, look, aside from making fun of this complete and total out of touch elite asshole, I got to point out something else that he did say that was true. And this is one of those, basically, he admitted moments,
Oh my God! He admitted!
Because he said governments want to drive up unemployment. Well, in our case, in the United States, it's the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, of course, they came out and basically admitted, hey, what we want to do is, yes, we want to cool inflation by driving up unemployment.
He himself is a parasite, but that doesn't mean he isn't vocalizing the actual policy of the United States, say the Federal Reserve Bank.
Matt, you're 100% right. He is actually expressing less articulately and more vulgarly, but the official policy of the United States Federal Reserve.
It's good to see that we're all on the same page pretty much, and I'm not making this video just because he brought tradies into it, which I'll leave to the end of the video. I thought I would put this video together because I have essentially already made a video talking about this exact topic back in February, so I can recycle some old clips. Unemployment is expected to increase. The central forecast is for the unemployment rate to increase to 3.75% by the end of this year and to 4.5% by mid-2025. That was me in February. This is me now in September, just so you can tell when I'm recycling a clip. And now I'm going to show you something from the Reserve Bank of Australia to further confirm everything you've heard in this video up until this point. In the short run, there is a trade-off between the Reserve Bank Board's objectives because unemployment and inflation move in opposite directions in response to changes in interest rates. By reducing interest rates, the Reserve Bank could lower unemployment if it is willing to accept higher inflation. Or, by increasing interest rates, it could reduce inflation at the cost of higher unemployment. However, it cannot sustainably achieve both unemployment that is below the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment and low and stable inflation at the same time. See, it's even got a graph here, and see, it's from the Reserve Bank of Australia's educational information. So keep that in mind. This is from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now let's look at this chart. Unemployment rate gap. You got the unemployment rate and then time, with the unemployment rate being represented by a dark green squiggly line to show that when it's up, and they call it a positive gap, that's going to cause lower inflation. And when it's down, so there's low unemployment, which they're calling a negative gap, that will cause higher inflation. So they want to get unemployment high so they can get wages low, because if you can be more easily replaced, then you should accept less pay. Carl says it well.
This capitalist system relies on desperate workers.
There has to be like a permanent underclass in destitution to scare the middle class and the lower middle class into shutting up and going to work and accepting the crumbs that they're given. That's what this is. That's what this shows.
And so they're going for a 2-for-1 to try and fuck over your wages and also blame inflation on your wages. That's how we get terms like price wage spiral.
Because again, they blame workers for these economic issues. When we know that it's actually not the workers' fault, there are these CEOs that get on these conference calls and they sit there and they brag about, oh yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna raise prices, right? And then we're just gonna blame inflation. We're gonna blame the workers, even though we're making record profits.
This reminds me of the board meetings that were recorded where CEOs effectively admitted that greedflation is real. That, hey, yeah, we're raising prices across the board because we can get away with it. There's this media narrative of inflation being out of control. And so what we're doing now is even products that are not affected by inflation, we're going to raise the price because we can. And that means we'll make more profit. And corporate profits will shoot through the roof. That's what happened.
And speaking of corporate profits, now I'll show you parts of a TikTok that I actually made because I was talking about subsidies to fossil fuel companies. But I'll go have a look at the profits of some of these companies. We'll start with BP, an article from the 1st of August saying that they got over £2 billion in profit. And of course, yes, we're pissed, especially since they're going to return $1.5 billion to investors through share buybacks. Shell reported a record profit, the highest in its history, of $40 billion in 2022. Chevron, same thing for 2022, posted record profit of $36.5 billion. And cannot forget ExxonMobil with their profits in 2022 of $56 billion. Woodside Energy posted a record $2.7 billion half-year profit. Adelaide-based oil and gas producer Santos has reported a $3 billion after-tax profit, up 221% in full-year results for 2022 off the back of increasing energy demand and rising prices. British Gas, anger as energy bills change leads to record profits. AGL's profit to boom as customers suffer massive price hike. Origin Energy reports $1 billion profit amid cost of living crisis. The company's earnings report, which comes less than 2 months after it announced a 25% price hike on energy bills. This is from the 17th of August. And I have this lying around. Shout out to my dad for this newspaper clipping. Power bill set to soar $565. And this is from June. See? AGL, Origin, increasing by 30% almost. Oh my god. On my video about inflation and interest rates back in February, someone left a brilliant comment saying, but you never hear anyone talk about a price profit spiral, and that's exactly it. And all of the stuff I've read from the Reserve Bank, like 1 or 2 paragraphs mention like the cost setting behavior of firms, never acknowledge there could ever be a problem there, never talk about how that could be a driver of inflation.
They believe the Federal Reserve's policy, and other people who've been advising them, supporting them, etc., have been arguing that the reason that there is inflation is not because of greedy corporations charging too much money, which, by the way, that's what's happening. It's because, people have too much money in their pocket. And so we need to take money out of their pocket by making the economy suffer.
All right, so it seems like their goal is to make it so people have less money in their pockets. And obviously then one way you would have less money in your pocket is if you're now unemployed. And then also if then higher unemployment causes lower wages, people have less money in their pockets then. But there is another way. The board recognizes that monetary policy operates with a lag, and that the full effect of the cumulative increases in interest rates is yet to be felt in mortgage payments. There is uncertainty around the timing and extent of the expected slowdown in household spending. Do you understand? Yep, the other way that the governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia said that they're going to make sure that you have less money in your pocket is by making sure more of your money goes onto your mortgage. And that will somehow fix inflation. Alright, now, I will go back and address what this fucking idiot said, especially about tradies. He first points out that people didn't want to work too much during a fucking global pandemic, and he mentions that that had an impact on productivity, which isn't really surprising. But then, the chutch, the fucking smegma goblin, decides to bring up tradies. You want to talk about productivity, and then you bring up fucking tradies? This cunt has never pushed a wheelbarrow full of concrete, never installed a bathtub, never laid any bricks, you can tell. And he's gonna fucking talk about our productivity. He really did say, like, you lot doing manual labor, back-breaking work? Yeah, you're fucking lazy, essentially. Your productivity isn't high enough, so my solution for that is fucking unemployment. Yeah, alright, makes sense, 'cause nothing would make a industry more productive like mass layoffs. But then he mentions the real motivation. Not productivity, it is simply pain in the economy. And we'll wrap this up here. If you're somehow watching this and you're not subscribed, please subscribe and also like and comment and share it. And follow What Do You Mean on other social media platforms. And you can sign up to the Patreon. I'll send you some stickers and stuff and fridge magnets. Woo! Thanks for watching. See you next time. I've got a few things to say about that.